They weren't gonna advertise it because they don't want people to know when they're going out there. But I think Dave Behrens will know.
Check, I forget actually.
I know he
Dave said it, you know. don't
Yeah, I
spread
thought
the
I wrote it
word.
down. I can't find the paper. I wrote it
Wonder-
in. It doesn't, not that big a deal.
Okay. Wonder if I actually was a fisherman.
We are live, but we gotta wait until,
Forum. I did not. I'm pretty sure it's in June.
That's why you get paid the big bucks, Steve.
They don't call me brilliant for nothing.
That was nice.
You wanted to have that bench in time for the fish planning. I guess they're gonna do a press event or something, I don't know. I think I'll do what I can, but last time it wasn't in a big hurry, so they may have the fish day too.
no, they canceled it.
I know, but they're thinking of still having it. That's what Dave told me yesterday.
Like later?
No, same time, just because the governor changed her orders or the health department or whatever. So. I
On
don't know what's
again,
going on.
off again. On again, off.
But especially with how this is not a timely process.
No.
It's a little surprising they called it off so soon.
Well, one thing that's interesting is.
Speak of
that
the devil,
only-
there he is.
I saw it was you, so I didn't answer.
I didn't,
The only
that's me.
population-
I didn't want to call you on your bike, but your bike is so high powered and electronic, I knew you could answer the phone, not take your hands off the wheel. You see this bike? This has 50 buttons if it has one. We have a quorum. Rick can't make it today.
So the gutter guy came by and I said, I got to go. We're having some gutter changes on the house.
Okay,
That's always
we're
fun.
live. It's 2:02, call to order. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Oops.
And I was breaking the speed limit on the way.
Oh, my gosh.
There's no buttons on it.
What is it called, a crotch movement?
Mr.
Shouldn't say
Ferris,
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Robbins is absent, Mr. Smith,
Here.
3-1.
That's
All
my.
right. We have a quorum.
That's nice.
Approval of the agenda. Any additions, corrections, deletions, nothing? There's only one. Action item number 4, funding sources. That should read additional funding sources.
Grab me one too, Mike, please.
That's all. Okay. And I do have one handout. It's just the goals and objectives for Myles Kimmerly Park from the 5-year plan, pages 65 and 66 of the 5-year plan book. Okay, that's good. Okay.
Here you can have
All,
Just share.
it. Okay, I got the whole book.
Oh, okay.
agenda approved. We don't need a vote on that, do we?
Okay.
We do need a vote. All in favor of the agenda, say
Well,
aye.
you made the motion.
We what?
Okay, make a motion to, yeah.
Approve the agenda. Second, I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay, now can I say all in favor? All in favor.
All right.
Aye, thank you. Gotta catch up here. Okay, public comment, please.
Narcissistic crowd, we're always saying aye.
The number to call in for public comment is 231-256-8109. And you could probably keep going because I'm not showing anybody.
Very good, thank you. Okay, if they call, interrupt us. Action items, approval of the April 15th Myles Kimmerly Park Committee meeting minutes. Any additions, corrections, deletions, anything? Anybody? Anybody read them?
Second.
Well, hold on. I have a couple of things. It says something in here I didn't say, so I gotta take that out. There's a few things that are kind of funny to just read, but forget about those. Laurel, Does the parks budget come directly from the general fund? Is that a true statement?
Yes.
Okay, so that is a statement. Okay, good. And Smith said on page 2, line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, paragraph 5, Smith concluded that the third option would be moving the building to another site, and, which would be equal in cost to revamping this building. That's not true. There's moving costs
No,
involved.
there's huge,
So they should
huge
add-
difference.
Add in, and plus moving costs, they should say.
Yeah.
And that was that. They talk about waterworks. I'm not sure what they mean by waterworks, but we know what they mean. So that's okay. But the big thing was, it says that I said that we could do this whole thing, put a new building up for $10,000 on page 3, for less than $10,000, to construct a new, more desired structure, which is, I'd take that whole sentence out because it's not true, but the first paragraph on page 3 tells exactly what I did say about demolition costs, putting a slab in, and that did not include cost of the building, electrical or water adjustments. So it's contradictory.
Thanks, Erica.
Other than that.
Second.
Oh, never mind.
Okay,
With adjustments.
Move to approve with adjustments.
okay, thank you. Second, who's second?
Yeah.
I'll second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, Laurel, is that something you're gonna have to look at, or did you capture?
No, I want him to make corrections on the document to give to me.
I'll do that, yes, okay, yeah.
So,
Last time, I'm gonna do that.
Mike?
Yeah.
Oh.
So
I'll hand that.
ideally, no, I'll just do it on the
More
computer,
complete.
send it.
Sure.
Yeah, you can't read my scribbles, yeah, I'm sorry. But in the future, I should do it ahead of time and send it to you.
Well, you can ask ahead of time.
I'll do that, yeah, okay, very good, thank you.
Yeah, I took some pictures as it sits too.
Okay,
Not settlers, but ours.
the next thing is,
Oh, yeah, wow.
how many people own a motorcycle?
Right. Wow. What a transition.
So
That's
that's
all.
kind of what I was.
Okay, here we go. Next item is the Grub Shack storage shed shack renovation. Michael?
Yeah, I did go out to the grub shack, measured it, looked it all over, wrote down the details of the things that need to be done. So I'm gonna get the form and talk to Laurel, if she has time for me, for the RFP. Okay, so that we can move forward with that.
So you have a scope of service or work drafted.
Have a scope of, I'm sorry?
service,
Scope of service or work drafted.
and all the things that need to be done.
Yes, I'm gonna put that onto the RFP, yeah. Okay, and so I just take that home with me and fill that out, or how's that done?
No, you would just prepare something to give to me to forward to council.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you handed me a sheet and I went away and filled it all out and, okay, no. All right, I haven't done this before, so forgive me. Okay.
This kind of prompts a question in thinking back to discussions on the grub shack or storage shed.
Mhm.
And the note that Scott had provided from a previous building official, have we had any staff from construction codes go out there just to confirm anything?
I did go out there with a gentleman who is a local guy, does a lot of construction work, and he told me that we're not gonna move the water, we're not gonna move the things that would require that. We're not gonna shift the building, we're just gonna make it pretty. And so as far as code changes or needing code, he said, no, it's just repair.
I thought there were some issues over the electrical panel needing to
Well-
be enclosed.
It's not a problem with the electrical panel. If we do that, that'll cost probably another $1,000 or more above and beyond.
But is this kind of a safety thing that it should be
No.
enclosed?
No, it's a beauty thing.
So we know this, that we have an interpretation from our code official that this doesn't have to be done. I guess that's what I'm driving at.
Right, we've had no code official out there saying that this had to be done, no, absolutely not.
But should we? I guess that's my next question.
Many, it's designed as an outdoor panel, okay? And it's designed for the weather. It's basically a beautification process. I mean, if we can come up with the funds to do that, great by me, because then it would be just a face of the building. What I was talking to Scott about is, when I was out there, is we could, as part of the kiosk, we could actually use the face of the weather-tight electrical panel, which is a big sheet of metal, basically box. We could use that as part of our, like, stick a map on that, so it wouldn't be, it would seem better, okay? It wouldn't seem like just a gray box, but yeah, there's no problem code-wise or efficiency, but if we want to beautify that and in a different fashion.
I
And
guess I would get an interpretation from our interim building official, and if that's possible. You know,
oh, it's possible, it's just money. But then as soon as we get into codes, then it takes up even more time.
well, we have to be concerned about that.
Well, we definitely have, I guess, I get what Laurel's getting at is that we've got an intake and we've got a project and we're heading forward with an RFP. It'd be nice to have code office weigh in on the RFP.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. That way, we don't go out for bids and have people come in and then have them stop because the code office stops them. We
Right.
don't want the code office to stop
Okay.
them.
Yeah, that's not a problem with me. So how do we involve the code office then?
I could, if we wrap
We could go down there
in
and talk to them?
fashion, we could walk to the code office, see who we could catch. Ideally, Amber will be there, we can chat with her
That'd be cool.
and discuss the building and what we're wanting to do with it.
Okay.
And
Okay.
at what point do we get into a code issue? I guess is the question.
Because there were a number of concerns raised by Glenn Dempsey in 2011. I'm not sure if any were corrected, and that was 10 years ago.
Mhm.
So it's probably just a good idea to make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah, yeah, I don't think anything's been done
Do you know,
since
Scott?
72 practically. It's the same, everything.
There were two things they said had to be corrected or we should shut the building down.
Uh-huh.
And that they were, the electrical in the building has not been properly maintained and needs to be put in place correctly. Now, we should have evidence that that was done. If it hasn't, then we do have to do that. Electrical wiring is hanging loosely outside of the electrical panel. I don't know that's true now. And not properly secured. All improper wired lines need to be secured in the electrical panel
So it must have-
or inside the wall cavity. And then they mentioned the entry building steps should be rebuilt and properly stabilized.
There's no question about
I don't know
that.
about that. Those are the two things they said should be done unless they're, if we're gonna use it at all.
Well, part of our plan is to put a wall in to separate the electrical from the rest. Do I have that right?
No, because it's totally on the outside. And so if we made changes to the electrical, then it would cost more. And that would mean that we would have to do whatever change that we decided on changing. Right now, it's just an exterior box stuck on the outside of the building, as you know.
So internally.
There is one wire that runs from the box to the well head. well works. That needs to be secured. That's the only problem with it. There's no
There's no real
exposed,
need to put a separation wall inside to keep,
no.
okay. Yeah, I think, well, we can walk.
Okay.
And there is a little slack, I think, you know, if we're talking about an extra grand. I think
Mike
it's
and I
there.
talked about if we did do a wall, I could do it. I mean, it's
That's maintenance. You just
quick and
put it up.
easy. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not,
We don't have to include that
yeah.
in the RFP. Okay.
You can put a wall on the outside of what's there now? No. Then you can't open the electrical.
Right, we talked about that, and Scott was saying we can't box that in.
Oh, I see, you
Gotta-
open it up. You'd
You
have
gotta have
to-
a 3-foot distance around that panel.
Yeah,
And plus, I was thinking too, you may not be able to decorate it because then it doesn't look like a panel.
good point. I would favor putting
That's
the
a
water and
safety issue.
electrical inside the building.
Yeah.
The water's inside already.
Water's there.
Well, we have a kiosk that's farther away. We can always put up another board kiosk. I mean, that does not have to be part of this project.
Right,
This
that's
is true.
dictated.
Correct, let's just do the project and worry about the kiosk later. Because again, you know, that's something Scott and his helpers can do.
What's that? He's reading that.
I was just saying that you and your helpers could put up a kiosk.
Right.
You have a building there, if we can take it's the west side of the building. If you take that west side of the building, clean it up, put an awning on it, make it a welcome center on that side of the building. It can be
I
that,
think that,
as long as we get rid of the
I think
electrical.
potentially, you know, that has merit, as does the standalone has merit.
That's
But
true.
let's keep it separate from
Okay.
the project. Keep the project clean, I think.
Yeah, I think,
What else do you need to know, Laura?
Well,
And
we're
Mike?
just talking about the proposed renovation, and when I go to draft an RFP, I need some sort of idea of the scope of service and what you need to have done outlined in detail.
It'll be
Can
a narrative.
do you have an example of an RFP so I can take
Yeah,
a look
if you
at?
stop by after the meeting, I can
Okay.
give you the trip.
All she needs to know is what's gonna be done and with what. So you're gonna shingle, you're gonna tear off the roof, you're gonna put underlayment of this quality, this brand name, whatever you want, or contractor's choice to be covered with
And the
asphalt
cost.
shingle number 7 in blue, or, you know,
Right, okay.
I don't know anything about shingles, but, or steel roof or whatever you decide,
Okay,
you know.
You're drafting specifications.
You got it.
okay.
And the cost has to be involved in that too,
And-
right?
You could probably,
No,
That's what we're finding out
guy
from
on the
them.
phone,
Oh,
Once you,
I see
you know,
what you mean. That's a
identify
good
all
point,
the-
yeah. This all be done outside.
Replace
Dave.
rotted,
then he can help you fill in specifics. This
Right.
shingle, this overlay,
Yeah.
this.
Yep, we went over it a couple of different times and so we've got a pretty good idea of what would be a good idea to do.
Excellent.
And so, then I just went out there, as mentioned, and talked to Scott. He was very helpful. I was thinking that I would just get together and look at an RFP and figure out what it was all about. But okay, so I'll take care of that.
We can do that. We can go
just a detailed wish list.
stop
So
by,
I-
or I'll give you something to look at,
Okay.
and you go back out and get her what she needs.
Michael, here's your peripheral brain right here.
Okay.
Work on it, send it to him, he'll send it back.
All
I'll
right.
help out. It's-
Okay. All right. So you've
We got this.
you've seen these before. You know it.
I've wrote them,
Okay. Oh, good.
several of them.
All right.
It's good, okay.
Not that big of a deal, so.
All right.
You need anything
'Cause
else?
what's
Not
gonna
right now,
happen
you don't.
Is you'll come up with a wish list, okay?
Okay.
A detailed wish list of timings, you know, if that's what you want in there, or
Yeah.
needs to be done by spring of 2000, whatever. And you'll give it to Laurel, she'll send it to legal. They'll add all the whereas in shells and,
Well, there's a lot of boilerplate language in every RFP that doesn't change from one to another. There are core things
Legal.
within those that we have to have.
Okay.
And after you do one, then you're the official one for this committee. So,
that's for the logging
I have a
cleanup.
question, Laurel, for you. We had a motion from Steve at the last meeting in April, 2 months ago, actually, to recommend to the Park and Rec Commission, the commission, not the committee, to move forward with
You
renovating
don't
the
have to do
storage
all
shed.
that.
I withdrew that. Do we have to send that in again before we get the send the RFP out? Or do the
No,
RFP?
because if I recall right, the discussion was that because we're going for an RFP, we don't have to worry about bringing it back to the board until our RFP bears
Once we get
fruit.
the RFP, then, okay, so then we do that after. Okay, good, just to be sure. Anything else on the grub shack?
Nope.
And the plan is for this to be done this year. This is not part of the
Hey, Mike,
2022
I gotta
budget.
have that back.
I'm sorry.
So that's got to be written in there somewhere
Say,
that we want this done this, because we have to have it completed and paid for out of the budget this year, otherwise it rolls into the next year's payment.
Yeah, I say drop dead date of November 1st.
You definitely want to get it done this.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
paid for this year.
Yeah.
yeah, we need to write checks this year.
Okay,
We have money to spend.
okay,
So we have to get it done this year and paid for this year.
okay.
We got this.
Do we
Okay.
ever prepay? Just kidding.
Sounds like
That was a joke.
Montgomery Ward, whatever. Okay, the next item, and the big item, is what we have to do, and Steve will help us with this, the budget request for prioritized for 2022. And I'm not sure just all this whole process, but we can talk about the process later. Just, we can prioritize what Myles Kimmerly Park wants to do. And Rick Robbins, I was on the phone with him, he says, we have to put in what we really want to do. He wants to do the dog park. He thinks it's a top priority thing, and I don't disagree. And he estimates that to be about $40,000 at least. So that should be one item that we have to put on our list, and we can prioritize what we want to do or however we should do this. Can we put in 6 balloons? Can we put in 8? Or if we don't tell them what we want, then they come back in next year and say, why didn't you tell us you wanted to do this? So
Right.
I think we have to be realistic. We could say, we got 10 things, we can't send all 10 in. Otherwise Steve will say, this is not the way it works. So he'll help us with that. But, so the dog park is on. Can we consensus on that that should be one thing, not necessarily the first thing, but that we put that on the list?
Dog park is on, okay.
Dog park? Okay. What else?
Paved walking path. I gave you all my list, so,
Oh, gosh. I apologize.
and you don't have it.
I threw it away. I had it come in my pocket and I'm sorry. I didn't bring it in. Do you have a copy of it?
No,
You got a lot.
perfect.
Yeah, I'm losing it, I'm telling you.
Was an email?
No, he wrote it out and he gave it to me the last meeting and
I wasn't sure if I could be.
I think my dog ate it, but I don't have a dog, so that's not.
That was the neighbor's dog.
That's the
Damn
neighbor's
beast.
dog. Anyway, I will share that later. You'll remember some of the highlights. Anyway, you talked about the loop trail. Steve, what are your thoughts on that loop trail? How do we approach that? That was a high item on this 5-year plan, by the way.
Right, and I know that, I think that's even on the CIP,
It did.
right?
May not have this year, but I know it's been on
They
there.
don't go
Really?
away
Did
once
we do
they're
an
on,
RFP?
unless they're done.
What
And
is
then
a
An
CIP?
RFP from that?
CIP is
From the loop trail, the paved 1 mile loop trail?
plan.
Continuous improvement plan.
Continuous improvement plan, okay.
It's a
I think.
capital improvement.
Capital improvement.
Capital improvement.
Capital.
Oh, you said CIP, not RFP.
Right, it's a totally
The
different.
document is
Sorry, I didn't hear him right.
kept in True's office under her purview, and we are charged with keeping it up to date as to what we see as a capital improvement for the parks. And each of the parks is listed in the CIP and has items in it. And Scott remembers, I think the walking trail is part of the CIP. Dave just went through a process with Veronica Valley as the chair. He talked to Trudy to see what was on the CIP for Veronica Valley, and he's got a form to fill out. I just looked at it to add to the CIP items. And so that would be something, Don, you'd probably do after this meeting in the future, to go talk to Trudy like within the next couple of weeks and see what's on the CIP for Myles Kimmerly, and add to it with that form of the things that we have on a list today. That way, County Board of Commissioners sees the CIP every year and they see where the parks are headed. So it doesn't surprise any of the individual members of the County Board of Commissioners.
So our job is to recommend projects to put on the CIP. Well, we forward it to our full Park and Rec Commission, and they decide which ones to put on? Or do they all go on?
They all go on.
They all go on.
They don't all
know if there's a
necessarily
set-
get acted on.
I don't know if there's a set procedure per se for CIP.
Well,
Dave went and talked to Trudy, but
from a department head perspective, you usually fill those sheets out and give them to Trudy, and then the board sees the final product.
and it's something that is just done. I don't think it has to go formally past the Parks and Rec Commission.
So,
And coming out of this committee is plenty of oomph. I mean, you have power to put it on a CIP.
So we have our own CIP. The Myles Kimmerly Committee can
Well,
have its own
it's the
CIP.
CIP for the entire county complex.
Because the one I saw from last year, that Casey had filled out, I think, seemed like it was for all three parks. I don't think I brought that today. I apologize.
The budget process is different than the CIP. CIP is the overall 10-year, 20-year
Ah.
wish list.
Oh, we don't want
It all
that.
is.
10 years from now, who knows? Go on.
I mean, this is stuff that, I mean, the walking path was #1 priority
Yeah.
for this committee 5 years ago.
So it seems like that's something we should prioritize to put on our 2022 budget.
That's a,
But how do we do that? Because it's a costly thing. And then we talked about stages and everything and where the money's going to come from. That's why I put the different sources of funding on there. Some projects we can say, not the grub shack, but like the walking path, people would say, oh yeah, I like that. I'll contribute to that. Or the dog park even. We get some local donations probably. The Cedar and Maple City Lions Club, they developed that whole park, and they must have gotten funding from somewhere, from donations or fundraisers or something to help. In other words, the Board of Commissioners aren't going to pay for the whole thing. We have to get grants or funding or something somewhere if we're going to get it done on a timely basis, not in 1 year. If we break it up, like remember you said, if we could put the sub base in or whatever it's called and just make it a gravel path for the first year with plans to pave it down the line, something
There
like
was a-
that.
and the one in the CIP form that Dave did. And, you know, he would send that to you, so you could see it too.
Who's that?
Dave Behrens,
Okay.
he just did that form for the CIP.
Grant. Well, I've done some grants for
And,
projects, but
we'll approve that at the Veronica Valley Committee meeting next month. But in one of those lines, it said, well, how is this going to be paid for? And they put Parks and Rec Commission 10%, County Board of Commissioners 90%. So obviously there are things, dog park 40,000. I mean, our capital outlay is 45. So obviously, these big items can't be handled within our budget. So the only logical, straightforward thing to do is to earmark it, we'll do so much, the county board does the rest. And see, what the feeling is on the county board side.
So how do we as a committee approach that? What can I do to make that happen?
Well, CIP is the first step. Second step is the budget process. In June, we get the mandate to do next year's budget. And if it's in the CIP, we're in for 10%, county board of commissioners in for 90%. And there's, Dave's is it's a dual, his is the porta potty area and the parking lot.
Yeah.
And that duo, I forget, is 80,000 or whatever it is. So that's one thing. And then we'll have dog park 40,000 on the CIP, paved walking path, we haven't got a number yet, CIP. And then when we meet next month, we'll be able to discuss how this next year's budget is going to go. Are we going to line these things up for the county board of commissioners and see if they would pick and choose amongst 3 big ticket items or 4 big ticket items? Or do we just do 1 big ticket item? That'll be the board, that'll be the Parks and Rec Commission's decision and the budget committee's decision on how to move forward. If we have basically, we're going to have $140,000 worth of stuff from this committee, and Veronica Valleys is going to have $90,000 worth of stuff from that committee. And you start adding it up, we're going to make $250,000, 300,000. We're going to be, that's the kind of thing we're tossing around.
So,
and the decision during the budget process, and we've never done this before, to go in with a really big wish and see what the reaction is from the county board. Should we have 3, 4, 5 different big wish items? Boom,
yeah.
Or should we kind of wrestle next month and say, okay, which one of these should the county board of commissioners see?
Go big,
Say,
ask for 10, and if they cut 5 out, well, you're 5 ahead.
yeah.
Right.
Well, Rick Robbins was on the phone just before 1, today. I talked to him. He said 2 things. He said, because he couldn't be here, he said 40,000 for the dog park. And he says the parks in general, all 3 parks are underfunded, totally underfunded. And he's a commissioner. He should have some weight on this. And he says, we need to just request more general money to cover all of these projects.
That would fall into
How we do that, I don't know.
Scott's strategy.
That's a way high estimate.
Well,
What?
That 40 grand for that.
what about asking for a person, and, maybe you could take that spot, Scott, who would be in charge of all the parks, making sure that all these things are brought to light and know, okay, this is what this needs, this is what that needs, and maybe have one person who kind of is in charge of everything and doesn't do the work. Okay, then you would allocate out the work for others. And is there a possibility of us establishing something like that? He's got familiarity with the way that things have been run in the past, and so it seems like if one person was coordinating all the parks and all the ideas and pushing that forward, it might be beneficial to the whole system.
Well, Scott attends all the park meetings, committee meetings, and so does Steve.
Right.
So they have that liaison, they're involved in all
Now,
3.
you're not a paid position, right? It's volunteer. I mean, basically, so to speak.
I'm paid as a drain commissioner,
Wait, okay.
as a salary position.
Okay.
And you may want to run, it's a really high paying.
Yeah, it's really draining.
Laurel, can you help us?
And as the drain commissioner, I'm on Parks and Rec.
Okay,
The Parks and Rec Commission has the drain commissioner on it.
okay.
We became a commission. Gosh, Dave Gill was, it's probably 20 years ago.
or so.
15 years,
Oh,
20 years is over. And being a commission, we have a budget. Prior to being a commission, it was a committee structure. And basically, if you needed a box of paper clips, you came to the county board of commissioners on both knees
mhm.
and begged for whatever you got.
Yeah.
So we had 3 parks that were just being very, very lightly maintained. And then when we became a commission, we had a budget to work with. And it gives us a lot more ability to work the system for as much as we feel we can get from it to help our parks. And that's, it funds Scott's position.
Laurel, is there a realistic way to approach increasing our budget for the whole Park and Rec Commission?
That would be up to the county board. So when you prepare your budget narrative for 2022, that's where you put that information in.
Okay, so we
And you
should,
want to go overboard with your justification for that.
we want to go overboard.
I would think so.
Good, well, we can do that.
So are we gonna talk about specific things? Because.
Well, we've got the dog park at 40,000.
Yeah.
And that's Rick's done a fair amount of work researching that.
I don't know where he got 40 grand from, because I estimated 11,000.
No, well,
Was that fencing and,
the fence, I just got a quote from Apple Fence. It's $20 per foot.
Okay, so then it's 20 grand.
so
But there's
20
other
grand
things,
each.
but then you need gates, and then you need double gates. Northport's putting in a dog park, and they're putting it, this Apple's doing theirs, by the way. Northport's putting in a dog park, but they're putting it in on an old baseball field that's got a fence all around it. Kind of cool, but there's access, so they have to close those accesses, so they're getting gates for those that they're gonna leave open, not locked. They can lock them, but then they have in the middle of one of the dog parks, say the dog park's a rectangle like this, in the middle, they're gonna have a double gate, which we need to take your dog in, close the gate, take his leash off, then open the gate. There's one of those for that. And then there's a gate between the 2 parks, the big dog and the small dog park. So they already have their fence up, but they have to put in 8 gates plus not much else. And that's $8,000 right there. So the gates are expensive in addition to the things. So
Lots of.
I don't think the 40,000 is far off, because there's other things too.
water.
If you want grass and you want to be able to water the grass. I thought, we just have to have water for the dog. No, you got to water the grass, otherwise the grass dies, because all this pee and poop on there, and that kills the grass. But if you water it, it waters it in, dilutes it. So that's the thing you need to think about.
Are we gonna, the reason I question, I've never been to a dog park, okay? And there's one in Traverse City, and it seems like it's a lot of dirt. And, because the dogs are chasing and running, and it's, of course, it's not a very big spot either. The one that's there on Division, is our plan, discussed to plant grass and?
So I've read about
Area?
3 articles on dog parks, and one of them suggested not grass, 2 have suggested grass. Third guy today suggested grass, the Northport guy. The one that Rick has recommended we all take a look at is one in Garfield Township, Sylvan Lake, has a new dog park. And he's got an estimate from that. And the park they have there, and it's got some nice features, that was the $40,000 one.
Yeah.
So if you get a chance,
That's a
you're down that
big
way, I'm gonna
dog
do
park.
that. Take a look at it. What?
It's big,
Is it big? Yeah.
real big.
And maybe we
I
don't,
would suggest you all go out there and look at that park, because it's very well done.
I think
You
it's
suggest
very
one?
well done. Yeah,
Just to go look at that park in general, because it's very well
very
done.
nice, yeah.
What's the park?
It's
It's in Garfield Township. I think it's
on Green Hill, where
Is it
the new
Sylvan Lake
fire
or
hall
Salem
is,
Lake?
just south of Green Hill. You go down,
Oh,
Zimmerman.
yes, yeah, it's about a mile, or 3/4 mile, you go down the dip, you come back up. Yeah, that's a really nice park. I haven't been in there ever.
Where are we?
You know where Green Hill Grocery and all that was? You could, Traverse City, okay? And you get on Long Lake Road, okay? And I think it's called Long Lake Road.
That's so.
And you zigzag, and there's just like this little complex with a bunch of
Silver
stores.
Lake, not Silver
There's a
Lake,
grocery
Silver
store,
Lake
and there's
Dog.
Gilroy's and all that. Okay, well, at that point, you go south.
Okay.
Pass it around, only one
And you go
county.
south about a mile, and there's a fantastic park on the right. I see lots of people there, and they sure seem to be enjoying that park. I like I said, I never stopped. I just drive by, and it's well used.
Yeah.
I will stop in there, because I never have.
Well, I don't have a dog. I'm not a dog. I'm a dog lover, but I don't have a dog. So, but Rick put on Facebook or Twitter or something, a questionnaire about possibility of a dog park in Myles Kimmerly. Got positive response from 50, 60 people. And overwhelming. And the dog park there is used well. The one, he's familiar with the one in Travers. So I was surprised. I thought, gee, out in the country, don't the dogs just run in the field? But it's a social thing too. It's an
Yes, it is.
people. It's a
quite
people.
social thing.
And they have rules they have to follow too and stuff like that. It's an involved thing. It's not just a simple put up some fences and it's done.
So Silver Lake Road, if I kept going on that, I'd get to the Crown.
Yeah.
Yes, well, you're
But I
not, you're not,
stop before the Crown, turn
It's-
right at Gilroy's.
it depending on which direction you're coming from, go south from Gilroy's. Like Gilroy's is on this street, okay, you just are basically, if you're passing by Gilroy's on the right-hand side, you keep going straight through the light. I consider that kind of a north-south.
Go past the Crown,
You go
there's
past,
the Crown Golf Course and there's the Crown Development.
if you keep going, yes, on the left-hand side, and all that, yeah, I believe so. But Gilroy's is like here, and you got the four corners here, and you pass by Gilroy's, and you just keep on going this direction. And the little Mexican restaurant is right here,
And then how far do you go in that direction?
a mile or less.
And it's on the,
It's on the right-hand side, be on the same side.
there's a park there.
It's quite a large park, yeah. It's quite a ways off the road. You don't like say, oh, there's a park. You
Just
just,
a sign.
See a sign.
yeah, I've never noticed a sign, but there probably is.
How's the Mexican food?
That
Outstanding.
place is good. That is good food.
What's the name of it? Oh, no, that's all right.
Uh,
It's all right.
Good Mexican food.
Good.
I
That
don't
sounds
know.
good.
I can't remember, but you know where I am though?
I am, I was turned around. This is Gilroy.
Yeah, this is Gilroy's, and you pass up Gilroy's.
I was thinking of this way is where the Crown is.
Yeah.
Here,
No,
this way.
And after you go through the light here, past Gilroy's, the road kind of drops down. There's a slope down, and then it slopes back up. And then shortly after it slopes back up, it's on the right-hand side. The road's straight there, but it's just a dip down in the road, a long dip. Basically, it's kind of like, there's some residential stuff and houses just off the road.
Well, I guess we've got the dog park, and we just need to decide if that number is a good number.
Hog park. Okay.
You seem pretty confident that that's a good number.
The 40,000.
For the dog park? I think so, yeah. Scott's the 20s too. Rick, this is his project. So it's just, you're the grub shack, Rick's the dog park, you got the loop trail. I'm here to help.
Yeah, so, I mean, if we feel that dog park 40,000 is a good number, then that's something that we can.
I don't want to put
Move
just that
forward.
one thing on the 22 agenda. I don't think we should go beyond that because we'll get stuck on that. Something comes up, I can't do that. But I think we should push for the loop trail, really.
Yeah.
I don't have a number for the trail.
Great, that's all right. So we got time till when?
So when you
Well,
say,
the
When's that budget
The
meeting?
budget's gonna be in June. That's when we fill out the papers
Okay,
for the 2022 budget. The paperwork goes in June.
no, Now, is that part of our meeting or is that a separate group that means your
It's
executive?
the committee from the Parks and Rec Commission. It's myself, Melinda, Casey, and Dave.
So the 4, okay. So, and what day is that?
Now there's,
Actually, it's just the 3 executive committee members. I
Not
think you
Melinda.
invited Linda.
okay.
So it's a
So-
3.
So do you also want to have other things,
Is
instead of
that
just
after the
big
next
projects, you
meeting or
want to have
before?
small projects involved in this also?
Well, it.
Because it's a wish list.
Well, you know, this will be the first budget, I think, that we're not trying for pieces that fit into a number.
Okay.
We're gonna be asking for pieces that go beyond the number.
Okay.
So we're gonna be saying X amount comes from us and the rest comes from the county board. And that group will decide whether we do 5 things that are big like that, or if we do 1 thing. And at least that's kind of my thought.
Yeah.
Or if they give us more money to do more than what we're doing. I mean, Rick said we should have a larger budget. He's a commission.
Well, it's like Laura said, we have to justify, you know, what we're going for.
Yeah, well, I think we can
It's gotta be high
justify it.
priority, and it's gotta fit, and it's gotta be on the CIP. You know, it's gotta tip the dominoes over so that they are more inclined to say yes to our budget.
What about, and this probably comes under capital, the maintenance building there across from the grub shack, that's nasty inside there. All that insulation is moldy and nasty, and I'd like to see that taken out of there and replaced, or just taken out of there, because I don't think it's a good place for people to be. Lots of mold on that insulation.
So you want the entire building removed?
No, oh no, just insulation.
Okay.
And the ceiling,
The ceiling insulation in the maintenance building where all the equipment is right now has mold on the insulation because it's leaked a lot, and you can smell it in there too. And so I was just thinking that it would be nice if that was removed, and if Scott,
Replace?
Um,
Replace?
I don't know. That's
Scott's
the question.
moving.
Scott, what do you think? It should be replaced or just removed?
I think it should just be left alone. It's fine.
He thinks it should be left alone. Yeah. I hear you.
But anyway, I'm not sure that, I'm gonna shift gears.
Okay,
That's all right.
go. Yeah, we're just throwing
I'm
things
not
out.
sure that I can get to a solid number on the walking path.
say again,
I'm not sure I can. It's nice to sit at the table, but we've got this thing in between.
Yeah,
us,
that's
and you
true. I
can't
agree.
hear
We
it.
gotta get rid of this glass.
thank you,
Hate
yeah.
it. So anyway, I'm not sure I can get to a solid number between now and budget.
For the trail, well, let me try to help you. I told you, I talked to the TAR people, this is almost a year ago, and that to do the whole project is so much, some foot or something like that, and if that for a mile, 5,280 feet is a mile. I calculated out, it's a $400,000 project. But that's if we pave it and put the subgrading down or whatever it is, gravel. But if we can outline the trail, cut the grass, we can all do all that. You could do that, right?
That should be your first step. We should do
Yeah.
that.
We should do that. That's
Immediately.
No cost.
Right, you're talking about trail
Where we
marking?
want it, figure out where we want it.
Just create the
put it out,
trail,
create the
yeah.
trail.
Come just run the mower through there. We got
And then,
Sure.
a trail.
then you have to take out some dirt and roots out of the soil. You can't just cover the grass. You have to till it up and make it and put the base down. And that could be done next year.
Well, what
And then
about,
the paving could be done later.
what about if we just, are there trail markings out there, Scott? Anything to mark the trail right now, clearly?
There's
There
nothing.
is no trail. There's no trail.
Okay, so maybe we should decide on trail markers first, and then, and of course, that would be off, not on the trail, but it would be alongside of the trail. So look at trail markers and then begin to look at where the trail is and what it needs alongside of those markers. Because then people will start walking in that spot, like you said, and just mow it.
So in essence, we designate our trail
Right.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a good
as,
start.
as step one.
As step one.
The, I like that
And
idea.
that's no
We-
cost.
we
And then
walked
put
as-
it on our map that we're creating, and then it's,
We walked as a committee once upon a time. The whole concept has changed since that time,
There's the trail.
right? That's,
You
yeah,
know
that's,
it.
it's in our,
Yeah, it's page
it's in the plan.
28 and 29.
Right.
It's
right.
the
And so we
dots
could just
on the-
mark it and where it needs mowing, mow it. And other than that, if it's someplace else, then, then we get people, okay, we'll walk on a trail and it's marked.
Well, that's true. It could be just a grass to start with and nothing
Right,
else. We can
right.
do that.
Exactly.
That's no cost at all.
No cost to speak of, just
Yeah.
marking.
Would people walk if they want a paved trail to walk
Well,
on?
anyway, to do that, somebody needs to go there and walk it, stick some flags in the ground.
Let's do it.
Can I make another suggestion?
We get a project of the four of us could
Oh, shoot,
walk
I'm
and
sorry.
play with it.
I would also like to suggest, I think Trudy's office, because she moderates the remod monumentation thing, she may have some sort of GPS unit that you could mark as you're doing this.
Oh, yeah.
oh, really?
Very cool.
I'd like to borrow that just for
Yeah.
other,
Oh, waypoints.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it should be pretty close to whatever it shows up.
Okay.
I'll talk to her.
So there's, two people can meet with Scott and walk it. We can't have three people there, or four. Because that's a
I'd be
quorum.
happy to.
I know, isn't that
Two.
funny? Because
Two is not a quorum.
it'd be
So
nice.
Two
Yeah.
people could meet and with Scott and walk it.
Yeah.
Stick some flags in the ground,
Okay.
just some pin flags,
I'd be happy to do that.
and that would be a start. The other thing that goes along with how would we go out to bids on a project like this, which leads to an RFP, which leads to a bid, which we can't afford.
Right.
But we have to decide on how we do that. And it was presented to us once upon a time as a two-way street. One way is you can hire a firm, like an engineering firm, to actually do an engineered plan. So it would be topographed, and it would be on a sheet of paper, and we'd pay X amount of money to get the plan for the walking trail.
Jim Prince. I have a friend, Jim Prince, and
Rick?
excuse me, Prince.
So, if you could get an idea from Rick, what it would cost for him to do a plan for the walking trail, that would be a step. And that'd be off the record, just kind of a ballpark kind of thing. That'd get us an idea what that route would do. The other route would be to pick, say, 5 stations along the trail that have different contours. And the engineer would go to those 5 stations and do a cross-section. And those 5 stations would be marked plainly. So we could go out for an RFP and the company would come and look at those stations with cross-sections and be able to do a solid bid on the road, the walkway
Mhm.
between those stations. That's one way. The other way is we hand them that sheet, the Rick Prince type sheet. The whole thing is laid out and it has everything on it that they can do a bid from. And they'll have to come and look too, but those are the two ways.
Which sheet?
to
I
lead
lost you
into it.
just on the sheet. What sheet? Not this sheet.
No, Rick Prince is gonna do
Oh,
a plan,
a
an
sheet,
engineered
okay.
plan.
Okay.
So it's an engineered plan or it's an engineered set of cross sections.
I got you. Okay.
So that was presented to us as a suggestion of 2 ways to get to skin that cat, to go out to RFP.
Mhm.
Both of those would function to get somebody there to do a bid.
Is one more advantageous than the other? It doesn't matter.
I like an engineered plan myself.
Yeah,
There's
sounds like
there's
it.
fewer variables. I mean, it's
Keeps the
there.
guesswork out of it.
It's black and white, it's done, there's all the contours are there.
Right.
They know how much material they have to move around.
Well, just-
Once that plan is done, then we can start talking about ballparks for the project, and maybe we decide as a committee, let's split this up. Let's do number 1, clear and grub. Number 2, road base. Number 3, asphalt. Maybe we can do that.
Oh, that
Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah, first, basically, topo it and then mark it. And each year another step, or every couple of years, it's.
Sure.
I feel like we're a little premature to try to get the walking trail into the budget this year, because I don't wanna go for a number that turns out to be half what we need or
Exactly.
twice what we need.
Right, exactly.
How much did you have this engineering study? Just a ballpark figure on,
Well, that's what,
I'll contact him.
do you have a thought on that? Have you done those before?
I can delay his sailing adventures a little bit.
well, there are really a lot of variables. Rick's independent. There are several independent engineers in the area. There are engineering companies in the area. So there's a lot of ways to get at that plan. Whoever does it has to know that this is gonna go out for bids. So the person looking at it has to be able to figure out their bid from that.
Yeah, now, just so I'm clear,
Which is
I'm-
exactly what you need to write for the Grub Shack. See how what they're talking about here?
yeah.
All that.
So related to this, okay, say Rick looks at it and he does a topo about where it should be and where it should go. Okay, then the next step to me, what I was thinking is then we mark the trail. We just put up posts and mark it. And then we move from that point on.
Well, we're gonna have to,
Rick's not gonna tell us
You
where to
two-
put the trail.
you two are gonna meet with
We're gonna
Scott.
say, Rick, this is where we want the
You two
trail.
are gonna meet with Scott.
I don't even know who Rick is.
Okay.
Yeah, you two are gonna meet with Scott and walk it and do pin flags.
Okay,
So that's the trail. And then, once it's marked and walked, it becomes the trail. And then if anybody wants to
Just
tweak
mow
it.
it.
And Scott will mow it, and then we have a trail.
Well, Bill will
Then,
mow it.
then Rick would be able
I'll
to
get the
come
forestry mulcher when
and
it comes.
physically walk. But he's gonna have to do
Tuesday.
the transit
Tuesday
work.
we start.
He's gonna have, it's gonna take some energy on his part. It's gonna cost some money
Slip park
for
season's over.
that engineered plan for our trail to be a reality.
okay, so when he does the engineering work for the trail, he is looking at excavating and things like that?
Yeah, he's gonna be putting the finished product in, and it's gonna be, when you look down at the plan, there'll be, the original contours will be existing conditions. Turn the page, and then there's the project, and it has the new contours on there,
Okay,
which show the excavator how much material he has to move,
okay, gotcha.
either fill or cut.
Right. Okay,
And if he wants to chat, we've done a lot together. If he wants to chat with me as he's doing it, or as he's thinking about doing it, just to give a ballpark number for his work.
yeah, we'll get out there and we'll walk the trail first and, just so we set up a time. I'm really busy right now, so,
I'm done. I'm booked through middle of June. So
okay. All
Yeah,
right, so,
see, the walking trail is not for 2022,
No,
but
Right.
the start of the walking trail is right now, so.
Sure.
right,
we can do it.
that's why I said, so like mid-June, we can hike it together, we'll just work that out.
Sure.
Okay, all right, just so we have kind of a.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
The plan.
I'm not too disappointed with the $40,000 number. I think we could.
I mean, you
Same
want to
here.
go with the
for
one
dog
thing,
park.
the
I
one
think-
thing, and that's all?
Yeah, I think from our committee, I mean, there's one thing coming from Veronica, it's gonna be like an $80,000 piece, a double project kind of thing, and maybe that gets split. I don't know, that's what's on the CIP. So, by the time we have this to the Parks and Rec Commission, and Veronica Valley has this and this to the Parks and Rec Commission, and maybe we take Scott's lead and we put all three on our wish list for the county commissioners.
I had a whole list of stuff. I can't remember most of them, but it was like a pavilion for the soccer field, a picnic area, just like
I'll look at
two
that.
other ones.
I apologize,
More dirt for the ball fields. They all need to be improved. More gravel, diamond dust, whatever it is. The dog park, walking path.
I think there might be enough slack for diamond dust this year.
New signs for the disc golf course. Because those are all sponsored holes and 90% of them, the businesses are gone.
let's put those few items on, because they're all gonna be, we can't, if some of those are under $4,000, there's only $4,000 at an under $4,000.
Well, but specifically, you don't need to add them, but you need to have the budget room to have those $4,000 projects.
Right.
So we should, but those should be put on our list besides the dog park, no?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
add it all on there. I mean,
And I do agree with Mike about the insulation. If it's moldy,
whatever.
because you're gonna move, right? You're gonna move to the grub shack.
Well, the head insulation's all wet and moldy too.
Oh, that's going too. That's gotta go.
Well,
We can put it on the rush.
So
it
it's
doesn't,
been wet for
95.
years, Mike.
Yeah.
There's mold up there. I
We can put
guarantee
an
you.
N95 on and
Whether
get
you
that
can
out
smell it or
ourselves. We might have to, the cost of getting we have to have a dumpster or something like that to throw it in, that's all.
And someone to do it.
Well, yeah.
I'm not touching insulation.
Well, I'll put a mask on and do
I'm
it.
not.
Mike will help.
Nope.
We'll put a trailer on the back of his motorcycle and take that to the.
yeehaw, go fast.
So anyway, I'm on a tight budget here for
Yeah.
time,
Okay,
and we're losing our quorum when I leave in about 5 minutes.
okay, we're done.
Okay, and then we are gonna go together to,
Yeah,
okay.
5 minutes.
All right.
Hold on one
So-
sec, let me get my agenda here.
So is there anything else that we need to address?
Well, just think about this, we don't have to have this all on our list, and I'll make it more formal when we present it to the full committee after we one-on-one each looked at it, about what we want. We have the dog park, and we gotta add couple of smaller items. The signage we want to get on. That might get done this year though, right?
I think the smaller items that come up in a list for the Parks and Rec Commission can be added. Just have a good ballpark with it.
Right, that's all we need to do. We'll do that. Okay. And just I'm thinking through it for the next week or two before we meet, meeting again. Maybe we'll get together before that. I doubt it though. We have 3 different areas we can get our money from: the capital outlay, the repair and maintenance, and the contractual services. And we get our funding sources, the additional funding sources besides the government tax dollars, are for any grants, donations, and fundraisers. And that's really a way to sometimes get things taken care of. You want new signs for the disc golf course? We should just try to get some donations from the disc golf people, something like that. They've been supportive in the past, and there's no reason why they can't continue. They'll see all that work
Well,
being
they
done.
brought it up.
Oh,
that
good,
they
yeah.
solicit
Yeah,
funds.
say, hey, can you help pay for some of that? Why not? And it gives them a sense of ownership and responsibility, and they're not going to trash them,
But-
et cetera.
If we solicit funds, it has to go through the county commissions first. I think that's what you're gonna say.
Well, I was gonna say that anything has to be formally approved by the board.
Right.
Has wildlife, wetlands and wildlife, or whatever it is, have they
Before we
contacted you?
before we ask, or once we have them?
Well, if they provide you with a check or something,
Yeah, then it
it's
has to go.
basically,
I understand. But we could ask for that, and then we could say, oh, we got
Well,
$300 from
it'd
them.
be a donation, and maybe these outfits donate a sign.
Yeah.
And you might want to check with the county to see if they have to set up a line item to accept donations, because other departments have in the past.
Okay.
But has wildlife and wetlands approached you yet?
They're starting Tuesday.
Okay, nice.
I approached them, they never got a hold of me, so.
Cool.
The only reason I put these on is we have to try to be creative and be helpful, because if we do some of this work and then they see, hey, they really want this, they're requesting donations or having a fundraiser, or the people at the park area are, like to help with the dog park, maybe something like that even. Our board of commissioners is gonna be more responsive to saying, oh, they really want this, the community is involved. It's like the road commission. If you go to the road commission, which I've done in the past, and ask for something to be done, they say, oh yeah, we'll do that for you. We'll pay for 50%. You got to come up with the other 50% sort of thing. Okay, we're all set. Any other action items, anything? Public comment?
The number to call in is 256-8109. If you want to go right to board member comment, you could do that. I don't think anyone's.
Nobody there. Okay, good.
I'm good.
Board member comment, anybody? None? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you. My apologies, Scott. I looked at it, I thought it was a good list, too. I really did.